Good evening, folks. Not sure if you can hear me. This is my first time broadcasting live besides a couple of test demos. So if you're here and you want to say something in the chat, feel free. Make requests and we'll just play it by ear. I'm going to wait till 5:30 to start. I'm going to kind of probably pretty much not try to chat myself in the chat room, but if you want to say something to me, make a request for something or comment, feel free and I'll try to pay attention, but I'd be happy if I can just get the charts covered. All right, so it's 5:30. I'm going to start off. We're going to start off with crude. We don't have a lot of time because the market opens at 6, so I'm going to go through these really quickly like I normally do on my weekly newsletter. So start off with crude. We see that we put in a close above the Tenkan-sen. This is a bullish improvement, bullish progress. Overall, the chart is still bearish under the cloud, but the fact that it closed above the Tenkan-sen is progress. We have a flat Tenkan-sen also, so it could be that price is going to move sideways or higher. If price does move higher, we have resistance up here at the 66.57 Kijun-sen. So we'll see what happens. We do have some sellers coming in, putting in a topping tail on this candle, and in that we do have an existing uptrend, and this candle is an inside candle to the candle prior to it. There's still no change of trend, but we could have a potential trend change doji type candle this week. So very important to see whether or not we hold the Tenkan-sen, which is at 48.33. All right, next up we will go to the ES. Look at that beautiful uptrend. Let me zoom in. So we see last week we closed underneath the Tenkan-sen after closing above the Tenkan-sen for the last several weeks. So it's important for bulls to reclaim the Tenkan-sen once again. Overall, the chart is fully bullish. We're in a fast time frame downtrend as we have a, actually, I take that back. We're sort of in a, we're still kind of in an uptrend at the moment because this candle did not put in a lower high and a lower low, and this candle is inside the last candle. So, but essentially we're moving sideways for a while, but for the moment. But we do have a flat Kijun-sen below that could attract price lower. We also have the cloud dipping right here, so it's possible that we could see lower prices. If we do see lower prices, we see that we do have prior resistance in the 2000-ish area. I realize my cursor is not showing on my broadcast chart, so I might be moving stuff around, but you're not seeing my cursor. I'll have to figure that out on a future broadcast. But so anyway, for now, we're moving sideways, and we need to get back above the Tenkan-sen if we want to make bullish progress. Otherwise, we could pull back all the way down to 1965.38. And the chart would still be bullish. In fact, it would be bullish if we pulled back all the way to the top of the cloud. So the top of the cloud next week's in this area, around the 1940 area. So moving on, we have the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, similar to the ES, also closed under the Tenkan-sen. The Tenkan-sen's at 42.84.38 on the weekly chart. So it's possible we will go lower. Have a lot of buyers in this area, prior support at 41.50 area. So if we do go lower, we could find support there and then go higher. But then the Tenkan-sen will act as resistance if we do trade lower and then bounce back. Bulls should be hopeful that we will get back over the Tenkan-sen and stay and put in a close over the Tenkan-sen at 42.84.38 on the Nasdaq. Overall, the chart is fully bullish, just like the ES was. Let's look at the Dow. Oops. Pardon me, I'm not used to doing this with live charts. All right, so we also see this beautiful uptrend that the Dow's been in. Zooming in, we see that we did also put in a close underneath the Tenkan-sen. The Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen are both pointed sideways and flat, signifying sideways price action. Similar to the ES, we also have a dip in the cloud coming up, but that's not quite now, because the next candle is going to be right here, which is actually coming into this point rather than the dip. But if we do trade lower, we could find support at 17.020. Other than that, 17.616 is the level we need to get over to be bullish once again on the Dow. Look at the Russell. Another nice uptrend, but as I keep going over each week, the Russell has a cloud twist ahead this week, and also has a dip in the cloud and a flipped over cloud with a flat top and very thin. So it's possible that price could be attracted down towards this cloud, sort of a danger zone, until we get beyond it and the cloud starts moving up again, which doesn't happen until the middle of June. So for the next few months, we're going to have this potential flat cloud that could attract price. But as long as we stay over the Tenkan-sen at 1206.90, we won't have to worry about the cloud being attractive. In fact, we will have to lose the Tenkan-sen in order for the Kijun-sen below to be attractive. So overall, this chart looks very bullish, except this candle doesn't look particularly bullish. It's a doji. Didn't really make any progress either way last week. But we do have proven that buyers are coming in under this area, under the 1235 level. So we'll see what happens next week. As long as price stays over 1206.90, look for higher prices. Let's look at gold next. I don't see anyone in the chat, and I don't know whether that's a problem on my end or that nobody's chatting, which is fine for now. Probably confuse me if people start talking to me. So looking at gold, we see that we are bearish under the cloud. We also have a bear cross right here. The Kijun-sen has crossed over the Tenkan-sen after a test of the Kijun-sen price failed. Then we put in a hammer last week. It'll be interesting to see if we do indeed continue higher and test the Tenkan-sen currently at 1214.10. And if we do test that level, if price does reject at that level, or if there's enough of a topping tail and a potential reversal built into this candle, which you could call a hanging man candle also, I suppose. And if we go lower from here. But so overall, this chart is fully bearish. We also have the Chikou testing, banging into this bearish candle right here. In order for price to go higher, the Chikou is going to need to get over the candles. So in order for the Chikou to be over the candles, it has to be over like the 1220 area, which would mean price will be over the Kijun-sen here. If we do have continued buying, which is possible since we had such a weak dollar on Friday, we could see a big gap up in gold. That's entirely possible. If that happens, then we do have the cloud to offer resistance above for gold. Moving on to silver. See, silver is bearish under the clouds. We see the Chikou has been rejected by the candles and is traveling under the candles here. We also see that we have a close over the Tenkan-sen. So that's potentially bullish on the weekly time frame for silver, although overall the chart is bearish. We do have a trend change, as the last two candles were an uptrend, and this candle, last week's candle, put in a lower high and a lower low. So the current trend is fast time frame trend is to the downside, but we did find support at the Tenkan Sen, so that's significant. If we do sell off, we have support at the Kijun Sen below at 1633. Next up, let's look at some bonds. Let's look at 30-year Treasury bonds. 30-year Treasury bonds have been on a ridiculous uptrend. This is the continuous contact, so you can ignore this area, the giant gap. You can just look at the candles current. So we see that we put in a new high last week on this candle, and then put a bit of a topping tail. The Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen, I'll zoom back out to make this more easy. The Tenkan Sen and Kijun Sen seem to be decreasing their trajectory as we're getting quite overextended above the cloud. And the RSI is overbought at this point on the weekly time frame for the 30-year Treasury bonds. So we'll see if we do get a reversal, lower mean reversion type reversal. If we do, we have good support at the Tenkan Sen currently at 155.10. We could also go higher. I mean, the chart is fully bullish in Ichimoku terms, but just extended. We can always go higher on an extended chart. This is the 10-year ZN, 10-year Treasury notes. Very bullish candle off the bouncing off the flat Tenkan Sen below after a close just slightly below the Tenkan Sen last week. We do have, so the chart is overall bullish, but the cloud is going sideways and quite thin, so more neutral. We did have this big dip in the cloud that we did actually fulfill a attraction towards, but we're still in an uptrend here, and so as long as we hold 128, 165 on ZN, then everything will be hunky-dory for the bulls. Otherwise, losing the Tenkan Sen could bring us a pullback towards the flat cloud, or this flat cloud down below here. If we do lose the Tenkan Sen, it's very likely that we will get a bear cross, which is when the Kijun Sen, the pink line, crosses over the blue line, the Tenkan Sen. Next up, we'll go to the dollar. Oops. We'll attempt to go to the dollar. Dollar's been in a very bullish uptrend, and last week put in its first close below the Tenkan Sen in quite some time. As you can see, I'm not even seeing any closes below the Tenkan Sen. Let's see, the last time that happened was way back here in July. Wow. So if you had been long the dollar, you wouldn't have had any reason to get out of that position throughout this whole uptrend until now. The Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen have both gone flat, signaling potential sideways action. We've been extremely overbought for a long time on RSI until this week, or last week. We put in a close underneath the 70 level of on RSI. But really, it's key if you're bullish the dollar to see if we can hold the Tenkan Sen on a closing basis at 97.08. Otherwise, expect lower prices to head for potentially towards the Kijun Sen at 92.65. Let's look at, since we're looking at the dollar, let's look at the euro. Look at the euro futures, the 6E contract. We see that last week we put in a close right at the Tenkan Sen. Closed just under the Tenkan Sen, so the Tenkan Sen acted as fine resistance. Until we can get back over the weekly Tenkan Sen, euro is still bearish. but it looks like it's possible with both the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen going flat that if we start seeing price move over the Tenkan-sen, that it could continue towards the flat Kijun-sen above. RSI has been extremely oversold and is not extremely oversold at this point. So just watch the Tenkan-sen here at 110.06. Let's look at the Aussie. Aussie put in a new low last week and then caught a nice bounce on Friday when the dollar sold off. Resistance at 77.05. Tenkan-sen above would be a good short point if you wanted to be bearish the Aussie to short the Tenkan-sen at 77.05. Otherwise, if we get over that, we could be attracted higher towards the Kijun-sen above at 0.819381 cents. Overall, the chart is still fully bearish, though, so don't expect us to go from 77 to 81 overnight. Let's look at sterling. Still overall bearish, but we do have a flat Tenkan-sen above that could attract price back towards the 150.88 level. Otherwise, we're just moving sideways under the flat Tenkan-sen. Let's look at the yen. The yen, we have a potential bullish development and overall bearish chart as we got a hammer type candle and a close above the Tenkan-sen. This is the second close above the Tenkan-sen on the weekly time frame, so it's possible that as long as we stay above the Tenkan-sen that we could see higher prices. Although we do have this big Tenkan-sen this big topping tail last week and another little topping tail this big tail 2 weeks ago and a little topping tail last week, so we'll see. It's just very important to hold the Tenkan-sen on at this point with the yen. Let's go to the Nikkei. Nikkei is in a very bullish uptrend. Put in a new high and a potential reversal candle 2 weeks ago. Last week we confirmed a new downtrend for the Nikkei headed towards the flat Tenkan-sen here at 18,538. It's important for bulls on the Nikkei for price to stay above the Tenkan-sen. We could have a really nice pullback to breakout pattern if price comes down and potentially touches the Tenkan-sen, bounces higher. Overall, the chart is, still fully bullish. Let's look at a few commodities while we're here. Look at coffee. Coffee's been, you could call this a bear flag, but coffee's been overall bearish under the cloud, under the Tenkan-sen, but put in some bullish progress last week, put in this nice hammer, but still in a downtrend as it did not manage to make a higher high and a higher low. So I expect it's possible that price could head towards the flat Tenkan-sen above at 149.25 and then have trouble there, potentially finding resistance. Or we could get more sideways action. But overall chart is bearish, but we do have a sideways cloud. And in Ichimoku, the cloud represents equilibrium. So frequently we can predict that price will revert towards equilibrium on basic mean reversion. Let's look at some grains real quickly, since we have a little bit of time. This is corn. We had the FDA report last week. We managed to close inside the cloud on corn, holding the Tenkan-sen. So I said last week that I expected that we would move sideways and look to see whether or not we managed to hold the Tenkan-sen. We did. So corn now has support inside the cloud and also support above the Tenkan-sen. The Tenkan-sen is tilting up, showing a little bit of upward momentum in price. If corn does actually catch a bid, we have this gap fill above to look at. I can draw that for you quickly. In Ichimoku, gaps are known as windows. This is a gap window. So we're looking for this area and the low of, I like to use the close because I like to talk about open body gaps. So I'm looking at the close of this candle here, which is, I don't know if you can see you can't see which candle I'm highlighting because my cursor isn't showing, but closes at 445.75. So that's the I'm sorry, that's the close is at 415.25, so that's what I'm looking at for a potential gap fill ahead if we do trade higher. Then we also have the cloud at 420.50. Otherwise, it's just important for corn to manage to hold 386.38, which is is 382.75, which is the Tenkan-sen currently. This is the chart of wheat. Wheat is less bullish than corn. It is not in the cloud yet, but it is holding the Tenkan-sen here. So we see that we're still in an uptrend on wheat, and as long as we hold the Tenkan-sen, we can look for higher prices towards this flat cloud above. We notice that the Chikou is over the Tenkan-sen here, so price can go higher without the Chikou having any problems as it's over the candles here. And let's just look at soybeans. And again, I'm looking at the continuous contract, not a specific contract. But soybeans almost got to the Tenkan-sen and got rejected last week. So we do have the Tenkan-sen above at 995.13, offering resistance for soybeans at the moment. We also have a bear cross on soybeans. Overall, the chart's bearish under the cloud. The Chikou has made progress, but it's going to find resistance at the Tenkan-sen above in the 995 area. So resistance ahead for soybeans. They really need to get over 995.13, and then a little bit higher over the Kijun-sen at 999.25 to actually get moving towards the cloud. And getting low on time here, so I'm going to wrap it up. And thank you for watching my first real broadcast on Ticker TV. I'm going to try to broadcast more, hopefully figure out the technology a little bit better and figure out some way of making a cursor so you can see what I'm pointing at. And if you're interested in what I do, and I do have a chat room where we trade live futures using Ichimoku Charts every day from 8-ish to 4:30-ish. And there's more information about that on my website at CloudChartist.com. And thanks for joining me on this. Happy Easter to everyone. And I will... good luck trading this week. Thanks.